Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair ragale, ni hao, chunashumme, washwale, ohio gozaimasu, guten Morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba, abuna, mucho gracias, swabi abballi kare aya. Hoş geldin and ayo sayo khuya mora chi batto chi haljot kalimera khairutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and watching World this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan. With me, I'm very lucky to have my very well-learned colleague, who happens to be Miss Haja Satti. We hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Haja, Assalamu Alaikum. How are you feeling today?
Walaikum Assalam. Thank you so much. I think weather is wonderfully well and Islamabad is slated to receive some rainfall. And I think this weather system that has entered from Saudi Arabia, from Oman, from Bahrain, and we've been watching a lot of visuals, especially in Bahrain, in UAE, where their roads are flooded. Probably they did not have a very vibrant, sewerage system because they are not attuned to receiving that much of a rain. But that points out to very intriguing reality, and I would say very poignant reality, that is the climate change and how it is gripping the entire earth. So you would find, especially 2-3 years back ago in North America, so temperature went as high as to 50 degrees centigrade and as low as to minus 50 degrees centigrade. And this fluctuation between the climatic changes, that is very worrisome because this is something that we humans did to planet Earth. We had deprived it of a lot of resources, especially the natural resources like the trees, like a lot of other flora and fauna, and we are responsible for making this planet a very unhealthy place. And I think this is a high time that we not just talk about it, but also walk the talk regarding how we need to deal with this very stark reality, because this is coming from a very personal note. Being a Pakistani, back in 2022, we are witness to the worst flooding that was hit in our country. And that was a very abnormal, a fallacy, because the flood started from the southern part of the Pakistan and then they moved towards the northern part of the Pakistan, which is very anomalous because usually our glaciers are located in the northern part of the Pakistan and we receive the rainfall there, and from there they flow towards the south. But again, Shahzad, this is something that we need to talk about, and I think we are really proud sitting at PTV World that we often talk about this phenomena of climate change because that is the need of the hour.
So we have been talking about it, and it's not that Pakistan does not have a climate policy. We do have a climate policy as well. But in addition
climate
to this,
ministry, in fact, right? And that was established in 2015, which is one of the earliest climate ministries.
Exactly. So in context of this, there are a few things which I would love to mention over here, Haja, and that is that now imagine that just yesterday the entire social media was filled with pictures of comparisons in between Dubai and Karachi. Now imagine that even Karachi happens to be such a city which do not receive a lot of rain, and obviously the sewerage system over there or the drainage system over there might not be as good as Dubai. But I believe that what people really need to understand is that it does not have to do with whether it's Dubai or Karachi. We certainly need to go into planning, make sure that for all of those urban places or even rural for that matter, we really need to make sure that we put our heads together and plan it in a way that how are we going to accommodate with the changing climate trends as well. For Pakistan, ladies and gentlemen, let me give you a straight fact. Now, there are other 60 countries in addition to the European Union who actually contribute towards the 99% of the climate change and the greenhouse gas emissions. Imagine Pakistan does not happen to be one because we are less than 1% in greenhouse gas emissions, which kind of reflects upon that the reason behind us not being so developed is because of the fact that we never moved on towards industrialization. Now there are people who are actually kind of thinking about it that, okay, if we are to change the trends, if we are to save our mother planet, what are we going to do? Now imagine if you are a fashion designer, what would you do, Haja? Do you have an idea? Because most of the times these fashion industries are actually kind of contributing towards a lot of greenhouse gas emissions.
That's very true, and especially with the advent of the fast fashion, they are producing so many clothes every year, and that is creating a havoc. So I have some statistics to follow. So 100 billion garments are produced per year, which is a very staggering amount, and about of that 40 million tons end up in the landfill. Again, the amount of the pollution that they are producing, and only 1% are recycled. This is also something that we can work on and develop onto it. And also 150 million trees are raised every year for this industry to prosper, for this industry to produce the fabric. And obviously, there's a lot of conversation about now pre-loved clothes or clothing brands that are encouraging that, we need to recycle it rather than buying them again and again, which is a very unsustainable way. But that requires a massive change in our lifestyle. And I think it's a high time that consumers are shifting towards the more eco-friendly consumerism.
Which is why this is so thought-provoking as well. Now imagine that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to wear one dress and wash the other one. Now imagine that now in today's time, if you are going to think about it, imagine that how, ladies and gentlemen, we could have saved planet only if we would have followed in his footsteps as well. But you kind of talk about it. We're way lucky, because today, ladies and gentlemen, I think that your minds will be blown away with the amount of effort these amazing women are actually putting into fashion industry and sustainable fashion and fast fashion, how Audra has actually directed the conversation towards that as well. What are they doing? What's so special about it? And how are they changing or revolutionizing the industry is something that we're talking about. And I guess that I'm just equally excited as well. So ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by, first up, somebody who's partnered with somebody, all the way, not from Pakistan, but what is she doing? That's to come in the second phase of the conversation. But ladies and gentlemen, she happens to be the Chief Executive Officer at the Design IF Studio, Karachi, and she happens to be a climate change activist. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Miss Iram Fawad. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam, and good morning to you too, sir, and everyone watching me everywhere in the world.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for taking our time.
Yes.
It's wonderful to have you over here. And in addition to this, ladies and gentlemen, the second bit of it where I've actually directed already that, that this is the kind of partnership that we're looking forward to. That imagine, okay, so I think I'm not going to give it away just right now. Ladies and gentlemen, she happens to be the founder of World Climate School Norway. She happens to be a climate change activist herself. She's a fashion designer and she thinks about sustainable fashion now, and how greenhouse gas emissions can be reduced is something we will be talking about. She happens to be Miss Inga Mete. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Having me here.
It's wonderful to have you over here. It's beautiful, to have ladies talk about, how fashion can certainly be done in a very sustainable way without damaging our planet, without hurting our planet. So, which is why, I'm going to get my conversation started with you. How did all of this happen? When did you think about it that, okay, all of that fashion industry is actually kind of contributing towards such greenhouse gas emissions, the climate change is taking place because of that.
And I think let's start with the conversation about the sort of idea that you came up in terms of sustainable clothing, in terms of sustainable fashion. Please go ahead and introduce it.
Okay, so as in pandemic, everything was on hold, right?
Of course.
So I and my friend Sadaf Khalid, we wanted to make a mark that Pakistani women can do something.
Yep. Right.
It's been a 26 years old entrepreneur journey in fashion for me. In the Karachi industry, I've been doing it, and very silently I'm working and started connecting to global people as well. So that's how I met Inga Mate online by digital ways, so that we can talk about fashion, that I have an idea to make sustainable fashion go global.
Yep.
So then I met my another sister from Norway, and she had the same thing, that she wanted to collaborate with someone, and she has a passion for Pakistan to come over here, and this is her first time visiting over here. Past 5 years we've been online friends and business collaborative, but this is the high time that we are introducing our Silk Road signature scarves and cravats and everything. So this is the journey from Norway to Pakistan.
Wow.
Right, and that's wonderful, because nowadays you find there's a lot of conversation on the eco-friendly and sustainable clothing brands. So Ms. Inger, I would like you to please talk about again this idea that the sustainable fashion, the sustainable clothing designs should be the talk of the town. But again, as someone from the third world countries, so there's a lot of conversation going on, because like Shahzad mentioned, Pakistan has a minimum role in the carbon emissions, and most of the carbon emissions are coming from the western side of the part, right? And then again, there's a lot of conversation, especially from the eco-consumerists, that there's a lot of greenwashing going on in terms of the branding, in terms of the marketing. This is just a tool to attract more consumers towards it. So how do you deal with this entire criticism, and what is different in this line?
Thank you for the question. It's a big question.
Right.
And you know, it's also not only green washing, it's a green wishing.
Right.
We wish to change something.
Right.
But first of all, I'd like to give gratitude to for the Silk Road Initiative. And you know, it's the rethinking of the Silk Road. It was the ancient trade route.
That's true.
And now we have to rethink the way we do trade.
Right, right.
And that is maybe the fashion industry is not only products, it's the way we think and live and how we style our lives. It's like food, it's like makeup, it's furniture, it's everything.
True.
So this is why the sustainability and the green washing is like happening everywhere. It's not only the fashion industry.
Of course.
Of course not. So but the fashion industry has a power to empower women, but it also it have the potential to empower the consumers with a new thinking. And that's where we have the rethinking fashion and rethinking the Silk Road. And being the founder of the World Climate School, when we started back in the days of COVID, and that was actually we started with the Silk Road conference. And there was a plan for me to come in March 2020.
21.
20? No, it was 20.
2020.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like
2020.
Years has been flying. So we started then with I'm born. I've been living the fashion industry, and from slow fashion, but mostly fast fashion in the Norway and in the Nordic countries, with all the brand of H&M, Vero Moda, Bestseller, and you know the conceptual stores for fast fashion has been at full speed.
Exactly.
However, at COVID, it was full stop.
Yes.
So shopping malls were closed, retailers were closed. So it was like kind of
a halt and a grind.
It was like
Shut down.
At that time I started to go from fast fashion into fast learning.
Okay.
And that's where we founded the World Climate School.
Okay.
Wonderful.
And accelerating fast learning for all. It's a lifelong learning, and that's where we have to relearn even as consumers. So I'm not sure, but you know we're all responsible for the.
And that's exactly what I would want to pick up on. Now imagine that that world might not have moved towards quite a lot of these fashion trends even before COVID. Because I think that post-COVID world was fast enough to catch up with all the fashion trends which were out there. Now imagine that in COVID we realized that hey, you know what? Not everybody needs to go to the mall. We can make sure that everything reaches their doorstep. And that's where we saw the fast consumption of that fashion, even though whether it was utilized or not. Now imagine that for you to come up with this idea that, okay, why not to have a climate school as well and to kind of talk about all about it as well. Yeah. Now the point is, now when we are to kind of raise awareness amongst people, how did you, do your research that, okay, this much amount of gas emissions or carbon emissions are being produced every single year? Imagine all of these brands that you have named, everybody knows about them, they're on your Instagram, they're on your social media feed, they're everywhere. And they certainly do never speak about how they're damaging the environment around us.
No, absolutely. It's I was part of the COP21 in Paris.
Wow.
In 2015. So we worked with the ethical fashion and sustainability at the time in Paris. And it was change la mode pour le climat. So change fashion for the reason. So there is like now the Olympic Games are coming up in Paris, and it's 10 years after the COP21. So you have this kind of spin of 10 years evaluation, and definitely the Olympic Games is going to have sustainability and putting fingers on the fashion industry. So we are. So that is happening. When it comes to circular economy, and the evolution of the fashion industry and the lifestyle we have, all of us are responsible. It's like, who made your clothes? What kind of fabric? Where is it ending at the end? You know, can it be recycled? What? How long? This beautiful silk, you will take care of it. You will love it. You will live it longer, right?
True.
But the fast fashion, the spin of fast fashion, of course, it's like pushing prices down. It's the taste of the day,
Yeah.
the mood of the
It's
day,
like getting clothes
you
from
throw
Zara
it,
every
yeah.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And Iram, so let's talk about something which is really gaining traction within the Pakistani consumers. And like I talked about, so our consumer market is becoming more eco-friendly, right?
Yes.
So there's this concept of pre-loved, right? The clothes which are used, and we should not, always go and buy the new clothes. We can recycle it, right? And as someone who's an expert in the field, who has been in the fashion industry, how do you see this at the intersection of the conversation on the climate change? Do you think the brands are ready to accept this concept of pre-loved and integrate it within their marketing strategies?
A very good question, and I believe that like me, I am a little part of the fashion industry, but very quietly I work, but what I work, people can see it. So the thing is, like, industry is ready. Actually, they are trying, like few of these stores, I won't name them over here, but few of the people, like few designers and all, they are doing already all of these things, the famous one as well.
Yep.
But the thing is, how I started it and why it is important for it, because redesigning, I am one of the brand that I am offering all of the redesigning kind of thing from the very beginning. I started it in 2007, and even then I started that because the economical pressures on everything, like you cannot go buy a very expensive suit or as you know, our bridal dresses and all that.
Oh my God.
You know, so this is
And
like,
you have to wear it once only as well.
yeah, but
Yes.
I have introduced one dress into many different ways. That you can wear it, you can
Restyle it, yeah.
restyle it, and I give you choices with that, because that's, you can wear it with the traditional shalwar kameez, and
Right.
and we do my fashion line is like it's a fusion between Western and Eastern. So this is what I'm doing.
And it's more like, for example, if somebody got like a sherwani for their wedding,
Yeah.
so probably 1 or 2 years later, if they're fit enough, they'll get it converted into a prince coat.
Yes, so you know what, like this is what glamming up your style and
Yeah.
your wardrobe, if you have a good, sensible, sustainable designer with you.
Which is why at this point
Yeah.
of time, now this is something for the fashion industry to think
Yeah.
this way. A big round of applause, first
Thank
of all,
you.
for all of you to do that.
Thank
Not
you.
a lot of people are doing that. We
Yes.
do not see that because as soon as it's going to be summertime, which we are almost around the corner, we'll see all of
Shadi
those
season.
Yeah.
huge lawn billboards and
Yeah, I know.
whatnot, and everybody will be shouting, and everybody wants the
Yeah.
best of it.
Yeah.
Even if they're not going to wear it, they will still buy it. Now, there's one more thing which I would want to
Yes.
kind of add on over here is that how do you think that we can make people more aware of the fashion
Okay, I'm really
trends?
sorry I have to interject here, but we have to go on a short break, and after we come
Okay.
back, there is a conversation line.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We went away for a short break, but we are back. We are still in conversation. We're speaking to fashion designers who are thinking about changing the world, and not just that, ladies and gentlemen. There's an interesting bit to this conversation, and that is that Miss Iram, now finally there was Nove's Rose Garden who actually contacted you guys because they wanted to get in touch with Pakistani truck art.
Yes.
Please tell us a little about this, cooperation which is going to take place.
What an interesting story it is. I was one day just, surfing online, and then we knew each other by the digital Silk Road story. But then before that, when my friend Sadaf Khalid introduced me to her,
Yep.
we started chatting together. So she come to know that I'm a fashion designer.
Wow.
And I've been doing all of these things, and ever since I started my fashion journey, it's been 26 years.
MashaAllah.
But I want to do something globally, so make the Pakistan star everywhere.
Wonderful.
So I started it individually because the higher you think, I believe in it, the higher you go. So this is what I had in my mind, and that truck art story. I was working on it, making some floral designs on the shirts, and it's a Eastern Western fusion. I always in love with some of the gowns and everything. But then she told me that, do you know that this is the same kind of story of Norway Rose Garden?
Wow.
And I said, let me research it. And I started reading about it, and I sent few of the samples to Norway. She wore it, her daughter wore it, model it for us. It's like in pandemic days, right?
Yes.
And it was impossible for DHL to send it to Norway, but we did it, though it was very expensive, but it's okay, we did it. The truck art, shoes to purse, to jeans, to shirt, to scarf, we did it covered. And she wore it, and her daughter is a model, and she wore it in Norway in pandemic. Model it on the roads.
So the fashion industry was still on.
It
I
was
think
on.
that's great. Yes.
It was like individual modeling on the roads of Norway, and then that happened. That was a story to tell to entire Pakistan, that signature silk scarf by Iram Fawad is in Norway. So I started making stories, making a digital, conferences, something like that. Then I came with an idea of Silk Road Conference. So that signature scarf is one of the giveaways. And the bravo to Miss Sadaf Khalid Khan, who made it happen. Like, I was the one organizer in Balochistan, which is in Gawada. We are the first two ladies who did the Silk Road Conference in China's BGC.
And since we have spoken so much about Miss Sadaf as well, so we would like to have her on the show as well. But thank you so much, ladies, for being with us. And tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, we'll make sure that we share the pictures of the truck art, which is being worn in Norway as well. Not just that, we'll have these different scarves as well with each other.
And cravats.
Yes, and cravats as well. So please make sure that you stay tuned as well. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, we're heading out towards a short break. Thank you so much, Ms. Singer. Thank you so much, Ms. Shira. And ladies and gentlemen, in a couple of minutes, we'll be right back with Ms. Sadaf over here speaking about sustainable tourism. Wow, I think these ladies are doing a wonderful job. After a short break, good morning.
Back, and before going on to the break, we were having the discussion about the lady who is doing a remarkable work when it comes to the sustainable tourism. Pardon me for my slip of the tongue. And without any further ado, I think we would quickly like to introduce her, and let's not monopolize the conversation because I think she has some wonderful things to say. So without any further ado, we are very glad that we have been graced by Ms. Sadaf Khalid Khan. She happens to be a global consultant on the sustainable tourism of the United Nations SDGs. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Wa alaikum assalam, and I'm happy to be on your show.
Right. So Sadaf, what are some of the new conversations that are happening since you are invested in the tourism industry? And let's explore it at the intersection of the climate change and the SDGs. So please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I would like to introduce myself. I've been working in the hospitality tourism industry for the last 15 years as a private consultant with the Pakistan Tourism Development Corporation. And also previously I was engaged at the Policy Reform Group with the National Tourism Coordination Board. And also I would like to announce that Walnut Travels and Tours is the first travel agency led by a female entrepreneur in Pakistan.
Wonderful.
And also I'm the only tour operator who has become the member of IIPT, which is Institute for International Peace and Tourism in Jamaica.
Okay, that's wonderful.
So how I ended up working for sustainable tourism in Pakistan is that the 2010 floods was the biggest eye-opener for the whole tourism industry in Pakistan. And also 2022, I happened to be visiting my own resort up in Kalam, Swat, and I was stranded in the floods myself, and I experienced that in first hand.
Okay.
And we were rescued by the helicopter. So I started working on sustainable development goals and why climate change is happening, specifically in the northern parts of Pakistan. Intensive youth mobilization for the rural communities over there and educating them that climate change is there, what are the causes of the floods, how is it impacting the tourism industry, the local community, the infrastructure. So sustainable tourism is a whole world out there, and Pakistan need to realize that climate change is there. It's serious, right?
Exactly. So how do you see it? Because for all of these environmental challenges, and for people like you, who've actually taken a solo flight, wanted to make sure that they do things differently, being the member of the IIPT yourself, having your own resorts, how do you see that, that okay, for your business or the sustainable tourism to sustain, we certainly need to come around these environmental challenges. So what ideas do you have to propose as per the given circumstances?
Yeah, as a consultant, what I want to propose to the government level and provincial level and to the private sector, key is partnership for goals.
Okay.
We need to come and collaborate to work on these projects. I've been talking this with the government level, at the provincial level. We need to get the right expertise to tackle these issues, as I said. Private sector is a very important entity because they are running the whole tourism business. The local community is a very important key because they are the one bearing all these natural environments in those northern parts and all across Pakistan, name it Balochistan, Sindh, Punjab, KP. Government has a very important role when it comes to implementing the policies. Because how globally, internationally people are working on sustainable tourism. My colleague from Norway, Inger, met, and we've been discussing this potential between Pakistan and Norway on sustainable tourism, adventure tourism project, is that you need to have partnership. And the governments, I think, have realized that Sustainable Development Goals SDG 17, which is partnership for a goal, is the key success story when we talk about these projects.
Right. And let's also talk about, because you alluded to something very important in your conversation, which is the role of the local community and at the intersection of the tourism, right? So how do you think we can train the local community more so that they can become a change agents for more responsible tourism? Because I think Shahzad can also relate. So if you go to the northern areas, you will see that people are littering there, and the natural beauty, which is one of the attractive points and why so many people flock to those areas, that's being degraded a lot because the tourism there is not very sustainable or responsible in the first place, right? And when it comes to the local communities, if you want to ask the way, they are the first ones and important stakeholders because they're going to guide you. So if they're not trained well enough, how much do you think they will impact the tourism there?
Well, that's a very important question. So Gilgit-Baltistan is doing amazing job when it comes to community awareness programs.
Right.
Youth, Pakistan 66% population is the youth. I have interacted, I've trained workshops with the youth. They're the future, and they're the future leaders of Pakistan.
Of course.
They've realized, they've become climate activists, they're taking the lead, and they're creating an impact in these areas. So they're going to lead the communities, they're going to educate and make them aware that sustainable tourism, protecting your natural environments, it's in civil ethics. Like it's in Pakistan, unfortunately, domestic tourism has nothing to do with education.
Right.
People go like Saiful Muluk, K2 Base Camp, when I see plastic pollution is the global issue. Humans have created this, and now we're trying to bring in solution and combat this plastic pollution in these areas.
Exactly, and that certainly is one of the most important aspects of it as well. But now let's just change the direction, because imagine that with tourism, I think that a lot of people who are traveling would certainly be interested in the heritage of that particular area. Now imagine that today actually happens to be World Heritage Day 2024, and it's all about exploring different heritages and going to different places. Now imagine that I still remember when I went to the north of Pakistan, I went to Altit Fort and Baltit Fort, and how they're very amazingly kind of kept it intact, and the way the traditions and everything, so it kind of resonates the idea of, we were talking about Silk Route, because imagine that right in front of the Altit Fort, the Silk Route, the older Silk Route actually used to kind of exist over there. How do you think that with sustainable tourism, we can actually kind of join hands with the government to make sure that we kind of reciprocate on the heritage of that particular place and kind of reflect back onto the practices that they had, which existed probably years ago?
Exactly. So Silk Route, as my colleagues mentioned, we were the brainchild in pandemic. We did a conference on Silk Route, starting from Karachi to Gwadar to Malam Jabba. And the Silk Route history is like China, Central Asian country, Iran, Turkey, all the way up to going to Venice. Marco Polo, the famous, the trader, Alexander the Great, have been traveled in all these Silk Road routes. So Pakistan's relation with China is there. The CPEC project going on will play a very important role when it comes to cultural tourism dialogues with these countries. Tourism, people need to understand it's a whole industry. It's you're empowering your economy, you're empowering your people, women of course, because I'm a female myself, you're empowering the community. It's like if Pakistan focus and for tourism, the most important thing is peace in the region.
True.
That's why I've become the member of IIPT. We are talking about when tourism is peace is very important. And as it's World Heritage Day today, I would like to highlight Pakistan has huge potential of religious tourism. We had started working on Buddhist tourism. Last month we had a Buddhist conference in Islamabad. More than 20 delegates came from Sri Lanka, Bhutan, Nepal. They visited all the UNESCO sites in Takhpai and Taxila. Kartarpur corridor, we did a lot of work when it was opened. Sikh tourism plays a very important role, and if we open these kind of avenues to the whole world, Pakistan's economy can prosper
and
through tourism.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much for saying that. We certainly need to develop that infrastructure as well. You spoke about, you know, the Kartarpur corridor. Let me be it Nankana Sahib, be the Panja Sahib over here, you know, so we do get a lot of tourists over here. And you know, the most interesting bit was, now imagine that, you know, this is how trends do change in coming days. Now imagine that when I was in Gilgit-Baltistan and I spoke about the Silk Trade route, now because of the China border over there, now we do see that a lot of, you know, people coming from China even, traveling or whatever is going on, we do see a lot of Chinese products, you know, within Gilgit-Baltistan. That's so interesting and exciting to see. But while we are at it, now to, you know, kind of sum it up, how do you think that people like you know, have taken that initiative that they want tourism to be sustainable, that the environmental challenges to be catered? We do know for sure that the government and the private partners need to come together, the policy making needs to be there. What do you think that one traveler needs to do to make sure that he's playing or she's playing her role?
And how government can make this tourism more sustainable? What are some of the gaps do you see as someone who's invested in the field?
Yeah, the gaps that you see when we talk about partnership, global partnership, foreign tourism coming Pakistan, I think they are well traveled, they're educated.
They know.
They know how to visit a place. They know how to even use when they're staying in a hotel, right?
Even if they're at somebody else's place, they'll make the bed.
It's this domestic tourism that I think training workshops, awareness campaigns with the tourism departments. We have a whole tour guide associations. Punjab Tourism Development Corporation is doing amazing job. They're launching. We have Gotham Hospitality School. We have Harshu Foundation. We have RIFRA International. I would urge the youth, if they want to come into hospitality tourism, you need to educate them what hospitality is. That you need to study hospitality, and then only the change will come. The government's role in sustainable tourism is that they have to realize and integrate where climate change are happening in these areas. You need to, the policies are there, implementation needs to be done.
Exactly.
And for that, in the end, I would like to comment is that partnership. My colleague from Ingermet has come to Pakistan. There's so many. I have a whole global diaspora waiting to come to Pakistan. I have plans of inviting them for a conference. They want to collaborate with the Pakistan government, B2B project. We were just hearing our federal minister talking about B2B partnerships. That's the key. And I think Pakistan's perception, we are a hospitable nation. We are talking about peace, culture, sustainable tourism, fashion and climate.
Exactly, and not just that, ladies and gentlemen, the women over here are spearheading this conversation where how the fashion industry can certainly revolutionize, you know, for all of the climate change impacts that we have seen because of the fashion industry, number one. Now imagine number two happens to be the tourism industry, and we have been sharing examples today, and I cannot be more proud as well.
I would like to add something to the conversation. The person who proselytized Buddhism in China was born here in Sawat, and he went here and then he preached that religion into the China. And so you will see that there are lots of monks who are coming in Pakistan because it is their holy site, and they can retrack a lot of steps because those monks back in so many hundred or millennial years ago, they
and it's written in the books as well. It's available in literature.
Yes, and I think that's we are really glad that we are having this sort of conversation because unfortunately after the 9/11, the conversations that Pakistani community dominated was regarding that lens of terrorism, and after it has been breaking, we see that there are lots of new conversations that are coming on, and particularly there is a focus on the culture, on the tourism, because Pakistan is not just a pioneer of the Buddhist religion, but it is also one of the greatest side of the Sikhism, then Islam. There are so many religions that are melting in. It is a hotspot of the cultural ideas. and not just ideas, but different ethnicities, diverse terrains and whatnot. So we are really glad and we are really happy that we are having these conversations. And with that, we will bid you farewell until next time. It's a goodbye and thank you so much, Ms. Sada, for coming here.
It's a good morning. Look after yourselves.
Allah
Have a great
Hafiz.
day.